At the graduation assembly, I was announced as the valedictorian, with a guaranteed spot at Princeton. But just then a woman dripping in designer clothes stood up. Principal Evans, if I recall. My husband donated the new library to this school last year. Didn't he that spot at instant? Shouldn't it go to my son? The entire auditorium went silent. The principal just smiled, nervously bowing and scraping as he agreed. The woman shot me a smug look. So what if you have good grades? My husband is the CEO of Apex Corporation. A broke nobody like you could work your whole life and never even reach my son's starting line. I smirked at her and pulled out my phone. Mom, your stingy husband is wasting your money again. I hung up and looked at the arrogant woman who was still gloating. I knew who she was, Doris Thorne, the mother of Caleb Thorne, the kid who was dead last in our class. Seeing me look at her, she curled her lip in a dismissive sneer. Looking me up and down, what are you looking at? You got a problem with it? Listen, little girl, this world isn't just about being good at books. Sharp manicured nail poked me in the chest. A poor student like you probably couldn't even afford to donate a single book in that library. Could you? A few scattered laughs echoed through the hall. I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my palms. Principal Evans, since she mentioned donating the library, could we please check the donation records? Doris acted like she just heard the funniest joke in the world. Who do you think you are? Does the great name of my husband, Leo Vance, even need to be checked? The principal wiped the sweat from his brow. Well, the donation list is in. The finance office stared him straight in the eye. If I'm not mistaken, school policy requires all major donations to be publicly listed. For at least 2 years, the auditorium slowly fell silent. Doris' expression flickered. What are you trying to say? The principal fumbled for his phone and nervously dialed the finance office. The finance director's voice came through the speaker. Everyone held their breath. The new library from last year. The donor is listed as a Ms. Victoria Reed. In the dead silence that followed, all the color drained from Doris Thorne's face. She snatched the principal's phone. Impossible, it was my husband. The finance director's voice continued. Our system shows that a Mr. Leo Vance did participate in the donation drive, but the amount was $10,000. The auditorium exploded. $10,000 versus an entire building. The difference was staggering. Doris's hands began to shake. There must be a mistake, that can't be right. My husband told me his company donated the whole building. Suddenly her face changed. I know this Reed person must be one of his employees. She must have secretly changed my husband's name to her own. Watching her frantic act, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. My mother, Victoria Reed, is the real power behind Apex Corporation. My father is just a trophy husband with the title of CEO, who loves to show off for years. My mom had turned a blind eye to his posturing. I never thought he'd find another woman on the side, let alone have a son who is my age. Suppressed the rage building inside me and looked calmly at the principal. Since the donor wasn't Caleb Thorne's father, I believe the spot at Princeton is still mine, right? The principal wiped his forehead, but before he could speak, Dora slammed her hand on a table and shrieked. Building was definitely donated by my husband. You just wait, I'll call him right now. She dialed a number. A familiar man's voice came from the other end. Honey, what's up? I'm in a meeting. Doris put him on speaker, her voice sickeningly sweet. Honey, I'm at the school today. You donated a building here, remember? But when we check the records, show some woman named Reed. There must be a misunderstanding. Can you clear it up with the principal for me? The voice on the other end paused. Well, that donation was a complicated matter. I'll explain it to you later tonight. But Doris wouldn't let it go. I know you. Busy, but this is really important. This is about whether Caleb gets into Princeton. I'm sure that red woman just stole the credit from you, right? Just explain it, honey, please. Well, my father's voice lacked any conviction. The donation was made in the company's name. There might have been a clerical error in the finance department. Doris instantly latched onto that like a lifeline. Did you hear that, principal? It was just a clerical error. How about this? My father suddenly interrupted, his voice louder. Since there was a procedural issue, Apex Corporation is willing to donate a new science building. Gasps of amazement filled the auditorium. Doris looked around triumphantly, her defiant gaze finally landing on me. The principal wiped his brow in relief. Mr. Vance is so generous in that case. The Princeton spot goes to my son. Of course, announced eagerly. She sneered at me. You think a poor student can compete with me? You should learn your place. I just watched her smug performance with a faint, knowing smile on my face. Father said a few more pleasantries before quickly hanging up. Doris strutted over to me, her chin held high. So, little girl, have you learned your lesson? Now you. I cut her off with a smile. Hold on, so anyone can get into Princeton just by donating a building. Doesn't that seem a little unfair to the students, who actually worked hard? Fair. She let out a loud, exaggerated laugh, turned to face the crowd, and spoke in a shrill, piercing voice. Listen up, everyone. This world is a playground for the rich. My husband can donate 2 buildings without a second thought. Some people study their asses off for a decade. And you know what to us? You're just a joke. The auditorium was silent, everyone stunned by their blatant arrogance. I noticed the principal's face had turned pale, and a few administrators were exchanging uneasy glances. In that case, I said slowly, pulling out my phone, I'll just donate 2 buildings myself. The moment the words left my mouth, the auditorium erupted in laughter. Caleb was laughing so hard, he was slapping his thigh, pointing at me. Serena, did studying finally break your brain? 2 buildings, do you even know how much that costs? The principal coughed awkwardly. Miss Reed, this isn't the time or place for jokes. Ignoring their mockery, I dialed the CFO of Apex Corporation and put him on speaker. Mr. Lawson, I need to donate 2 science buildings to the school. Please arrange a transfer of $20 million. On the other end, Mr. Lawson's voice was respectful and efficient. Of course, Miss Reed. I'll handle it immediately. Doris' smile froze on her face. Her eyes widened in shock. The folder in the principal's hand dropped to the floor. With a loud thud, the entire hall went dead silent. Everyone was staring at me, their jaws on the floor. Doris' face went from white to red and back again. She finally shrieked, impossible. She must have hired an actor. Just then the principal's phone rang. It was the finance director again. Principal, an anonymous account just transferred $20 million. With the note, for the new science buildings. Paul erupted in a roar of disbelief. Doris's face was now ashen. Her lips trembled. No, that's not possible, could she? I smiled faintly at her. So, who gets the spot at Princeton now? The principal was wiping away sweat, about to speak when Doris lunged forward like a mad woman. Wait, my husband can add more. She frantically dialed Leo Vance's number, screaming hysterically into the phone. Honey, that damn girl donated 2 buildings. You have to donate more, we can't lose to her. Leo's voice on the other end was clearly panicked. Doris, don't be rash. I don't care, she shrieked. You have to donate more or Caleb loses his spot. There was a few seconds of silence before Leo gritted his teeth. Fine, I'll donate 1 more. Doris looked at me with pure triumph, as if she'd already won. You hear that? My husband is donating another 1. 3 buildings, how are you going to top that? She stood on the stage like a victorious rooster, surveying the crowd. 3 buildings. 3 whole buildings. Screeched principal. You can announce my son's admission now, right? The principal was about to speak when my phone vibrated. It was a text from my so-called father. Serena. Sweetie, daddy's a little short on cash. Can you lend me some of your allowance? A smirk laid on my lips as I typed back. Why didn't mom give you plenty this month? A reply came back almost instantly. Wasn't quite enough, could you lend me 30 million? It's not like you'll miss it. Your account always has 100 million in it for pocket money. Anyway, I stared at his shameless text, the smirk on my face turning into a sneer of contempt. He wanted to borrow my money to pay for a promise he made to his mistress. The absolute nerve. I was done playing games. I texted back no, then blocked his number. Doris, seeing that I hadn't responded, grew bold again. Huh? I knew it. How could a broke student like you have that kind of money? You were just faking it. I just smiled. Oh, 30 million. Has it arrived yet? Doris faltered. Of course it has. My husband is a CEO. He doesn't write bad checks. I raised an eyebrow at the principal. Maybe you should call the finance office. He nodded, and soon the director's voice was on the speaker again. 30 million, no. We haven't received anything. Woman's face darkened. There must be a delay in the wire transfer. I'll call my husband right now and tell him to hurry up. She immediately redialed the number. Hey honey, the company hasn't sent the money yet. Can you rush them? Leo was in a panic over the promise he'd made, but he couldn't stand to lose face in front of so many people. He said grimly, the company's financial system is having issues. I'll deliver the money in person. Satisfied, Doris hung up and glared at me. My husband said he's bringing the money himself. When he gets here, you're going to get on your knees and apologize to me. Looked up at her and shook my head. What kind of CEO has to deliver cash in person? Annie, Doris, are you sure your husband isn't lying to you? Her pupils constricted. I took a step closer, my voice dripping with scorn. It's pathetic, really. Still being led around by the nose by a man at your age. I glanced over at Caleb. And you? Are you still dreaming of being a rich young master? My words enraged him. He lunged forward and shoved me. Don't you dare talk about my father like that. I was prepared for it, but the push still sent me stumbling back a few steps. Being this, Doris charged at me too, her eyes red with fury, her sharp nails aiming straight for my face. I'll tear your mouth off. I quickly dodged to the side, but she managed to grab my hair crack. In the chaos, Caleb grabbed a water bottle from a table and smashed it against my forehead. A sharp pain exploded in my head, and warm blood trickled down my face. Auditorium descended into chaos. The principal and teachers rushed forward to break up the fight. Doris screamed, "Don't touch me. My husband is the CEO of Apex. Even if I killed her, I have the money to deal with the consequences." No one wanted to get on her bad side, so they all froze as shrieked, clawing at my face like a wild animal. Caleb held me down, and I couldn't break free. I cried out. In pain I screamed, "You're asking for it when my mother gets here. She'll make you pay." Doris scoffed. "Who the hell is your mother? If she dares to show up, I'll beat her up too." Just then the auditorium doors burst open with a loud bang. My father, Leo Vance, strode in wearing a sharp suit, followed by a team of bodyguards. He looked every bit the powerful CEO. The moment Doris saw him, she ran to him like he was her savior. "Honey," she cried, her hands covered in my blood as she grabbed his sleeve. "She's picking on me and Caleb." My face was a mess of scratches and blood. So Leo didn't even recognize me. His eyes swept over me with disgust. Where did this insolent little brat come from? He turned to his bodyguards. "Take her out back and deal with her." I was instantly hauled up from the floor, my arms pinned behind me. "Leo Vance, look closer, it's me." I tried to shout, but one of the bodyguards clamped a hand over my mouth. Just as they were about to drag me away, the auditorium doors swung open again. A woman in a perfectly tailored designer suit radiating an aura of pure power walked calmly into the hall. Her voice was ice cold. "Who dares touch my daughter?" The temperature in the auditorium seemed to plummet the moment those words rang out. "Who dares touch my daughter?" The voice wasn't a scream. It didn't need to be. It possessed a quiet, terrifying authority that cut through the chaos like a blade. My mother, Victoria Reed, stood in the doorway. She was dressed in a charcoal gray Armani suit, her posture immaculate, her eyes locked onto the scene on the stage. Behind her were 4 men in dark suits, not rented muscle like the ones holding me, but her actual executive security detail, men who looked like they could dismantle a tank with their bare hands. For a second, the room was suspended in utter silence. Then, Doris ruined it. "Daughter?" Doris sneered, wiping my blood off her manicured hand with a tissue. She scoffed and nudged Leo. "Honey, look at this. Is this the crazy Reed woman who tried to steal your donation credit? She actually showed up, and she's claiming this broke little bitch is her." "Shut your mouth." The voice didn't come from my mother. It came from Leo. My so-called father was frozen. The arrogant, untouchable aura of the CEO had vanished, replaced by the pale, trembling demeanor of a man who had just stepped on a landmine. His eyes, previously filled with disdain, darted from my mother at the door to the blood-soaked girl currently pinned by his bodyguards. He finally looked at me, really looked at me. Through the mess of tangled hair, swelling bruises, and crimson blood trickling down my forehead, our eyes met. I gave him a dark, bloody smile. "Hi, Dad." All the color drained from Leo Vance's face. He looked like he was going to vomit. "Serena," he choked out. "Let her go," my mother commanded, taking a slow, measured step down the aisle. The 2 bodyguards holding my arms hesitated, looking at Leo for orders. But Leo was hyperventilating. "Are you deaf?" Leo suddenly shrieked at his own men, his voice cracking hysterically. "Get your filthy hands off her. Let her go right now." The guards practically threw me away from them in their haste to comply. I stumbled, catching myself on the edge of the podium. My head throbbed violently, but the adrenaline kept me on my feet. "Honey, what are you doing?" Doris demanded, grabbing Leo's arm. "Why are you yelling at them? This girl just humiliated us. And who does this old bat think she is, barging in here?" Smack. The sound echoed through the massive auditorium like a gunshot. Doris stumbled backward, clutching her cheek in pure disbelief. Caleb, who had been standing there with the bloody water bottle still in his hand, dropped it. It rolled off the stage with a hollow thud. Leo's chest was heaving, his hand still raised from the slap. "I told you to shut up, Doris. Do you want to get us all killed?" My mother reached the stage. The crowd of teachers, administrators, and the principal parted for her like the Red Sea. She didn't spare Leo a single glance. She walked straight to me. Her cold, corporate mask slipped for exactly 1 second as she took in the gash on my forehead and the deep scratch marks on my neck. She reached out, her cool fingers gently touching my cheek, avoiding the bruises. "Serena," she said, her voice dropping to a whisper only I could hear. "Are you alright?" "I've been better," I muttered, wincing. "Sorry about the mess." "Don't apologize," my mother said softly. The mask slammed back into place. When she turned around to face Leo, Doris, and Caleb, her eyes were dead. There was no rage. There was only execution. "Victoria," Leo whimpered, stepping forward, his hands raised in surrender. Victoria, I swear to God, I didn't know. The room was chaotic. Her face was covered in blood. I didn't recognize her. If I had known it was Serena. If you had known it was Serena, you wouldn't have ordered your men to drag her out back? My mother finished for him. She tilted her head. So you admit to ordering the assault of a high school student. Good to know. My lawyers are taking notes. Lawyers? Doris screeched, finally recovering from the shock of the slap. She glared at Leo, then at my mother. Leo, what the hell is going on? Why are you acting like a whip dog in front of this woman? You're the CEO of Apex. Fire her. Ruin her. My mother let out a soft, dark chuckle. It sent a shiver down my spine. He's the CEO. My mother looked at Leo. Is that what you told your little concubine, Leo? Victoria, please, let's talk about this at home. No, let's talk about it here, my mother interrupted, her voice projecting effortlessly across the dead-silent auditorium. Since you enjoy showing off so much, let's air it all out. Principal Evans, you have a microphone? The principal, who looked like he was on the verge of a heart attack, fumbled with the podium mic and pushed it toward her with shaking hands. My mother tapped the mic. My name is Victoria Reed. I am the founder, chairwoman, and 100% majority shareholder of Apex Corporation. The man standing over there trembling in his designer suit, Leo Vance, is my husband. 15 years ago, I gave him the vanity title of CEO because he begged for it. He owns zero equity. He makes no executive decisions. He is, by all legal definitions, an overpaid mascot. Gasps rippled through the hundreds of students and parents sitting in the audience. Cell phones were already out, recording every second. Doris shook her head frantically. No, you're lying. Leo is a billionaire. He bought me my villa. He bought Caleb his sports car. He's donating buildings to this school. Yes. The buildings, my mother said. She pulled a tablet from the briefcase of the assistant standing behind her. Let's talk about the money, Doris. You see, Leo doesn't have his own money. He has a generous monthly allowance that I provide. But maintaining a secret mistress and a bastard son for 18 years? That requires more than an allowance. Leo dropped to his knees. Victoria, don't do this. I'll leave them. I'll cut them off completely. Just don't take the company from me. Caleb looked horrified. Dad? What is she talking about? Dad, get up. My mother ignored them both. Over the last 5 years, my auditors noticed a series of creative accounting tricks. Dummy vendors, inflated expense reports, shadow accounts. Yesterday, my CFO, Mr. Lawson, confirmed that Leo Vance embezzled approximately $25 million from Apex Corporation to fund the lifestyle of Doris and Caleb Thorne. Doris's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the stage, her designer dress pooling around her. He embezzled. That's right. My mother smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. Every diamond on your neck, the car your son drives, the roof over your head, it belongs to me. It's stolen property. And as of 9 a.m. this morning, I have frozen every bank account under Leo's, Doris's, and Caleb's names. I have also filed a formal police report for corporate fraud. Leo began to weep openly, clawing at his own hair. That reminds me. I spoke up, my voice steady despite the pounding in my head. I pulled my phone from my pocket and held it up. Mom, did you know he texted me 5 minutes ago asking to borrow $30 million from my trust fund? He said it was because you were being stingy this month. My mother looked at the screen. A dangerous shadow crossed her face. She walked over to Leo, who was sobbing on the floor. She leaned down so they were eye to eye. You tried to scam your own daughter to pay off your mistress's bragging, my mother whispered coldly. You are pathetic. She stood up. Leo Vance, you are hereby terminated from Apex Corporation. You will leave this auditorium with nothing but the clothes on your back. My legal team will see you in criminal court. The destruction of Leo's financial life was satisfying, but it wasn't the end. While Doris was still hyperventilating on the floor, Caleb finally snapped. The realization that he wasn't a rich heir, that his father was a fraud, and that he was about to lose everything was too much for his fragile ego. You bitch. Caleb roared, his face twisting in rage. He lunged toward me, his fists raised. This is all your fault. He didn't even make it 2 steps. One of my mother's security guards moved with terrifying speed, stepping between us and planting a solid kick into Caleb's chest. The breath left Caleb's lungs in a loud whoosh, and he crashed backward into the folding table, sending water bottles and paperwork flying everywhere. Assaulting the heiress of Apex in front of witnesses, my mother noted dryly. Add it to the charges. Right on cue, the wail of police sirens pierced the air outside the school. Flashing red and blue lights illuminated the high windows of the auditorium. Doris scrambled to her feet, panicked. The police? No. This is a school matter. Principal Evans, tell them. Principal Evans, who had been trying to merge with the background wallpaper, suddenly found himself the center of attention again. My mother turned her icy gaze to him.
Ah, yes.
Principal Evans, Victoria said smoothly. The man who bowed and scraped for a $10,000 donation and was fully prepared to revoke my daughter's hard-earned valedictorian spot and her guaranteed admission to Princeton. Tell me, Principal, what exactly is the school policy on a grown woman and a male student physically assaulting a female honor student on your stage? The principal was sweating so profusely his collar was soaked. And Mrs. Reed, Victoria, please understand, I was under the impression. Mrs. Thorne told me. I don't care what she told you. I interrupted. I walked over to the principal, leaning in close. You watched them gang up on me. You watched Caleb smash a bottle over my head. And you did nothing because you thought they were rich. You're a coward. The auditorium doors opened, and half a dozen police officers walked in. We got a call about an assault and a suspect wanted for corporate fraud, the lead officer announced. My mother pointed elegantly toward the stage. The man on his knees is Leo Vance. Warrant number 84B for grand larceny and embezzlement. The woman and the boy are Doris and Caleb Thorne. They assaulted my daughter. That's a lie. Doris screamed, fighting as two female officers grabbed her arms and slammed them behind her back to cuff her.
She started it.
She provoked me. Leo, do something. Call your lawyers. Leo didn't even look at her. He was staring blankly at the floor as an officer read him his Miranda rights and clicked cold steel handcuffs onto his wrists. The reality of federal prison was breaking his mind in real time. Caleb, still gasping for air on the floor, started crying like a toddler when the police yanked him up.
Mom, Dad.
Help me. I'm supposed to go to Princeton. I can't be arrested. I walked up to Caleb as the officer held him. I pulled a tissue from my pocket, dabbed a bit of my own blood from my forehead, and tossed the tissue onto his chest. You are never going to Princeton, Caleb, I said quietly, making sure he heard every word. You were dead last in our class. You're not smart. You're not rich. And you're definitely not a Vance. You're just a criminal. Have fun in holding. I'll kill you. I'll kill you, Caleb shrieked, thrashing against the officers as they dragged him down the aisle. The entire student body watched in stunned silence as the arrogant bully who had terrorized the school for years was hauled out in cuffs, weeping. Doris was dragged out next, her designer heels dragging on the floor, mascara running down her face in ugly black streaks. She looked exactly like what she was, a cheap grifter whose luck had finally run out. Lastly, Leo was escorted past us. He stopped for a brief second in front of my mother. Victoria, 20 years of marriage. He whispered brokenly. We're over the day you stole from me to feed them, she replied, not blinking. Goodbye, Leo. With the trash taken out, the auditorium felt remarkably empty, despite the hundreds of people still sitting there. My mother turned her attention back to the principal. Mr. Evans, she said, pulling a folded document from her jacket. As you may recall, I am the actual donor of the new library, and earlier today my daughter pledged $20 million for 2 new science buildings. That makes me the largest single benefactor in the history of this district. The principal swallowed hard, forcing a sickeningly eager smile. Why yes, absolutely, Mrs. Reed. We are so incredibly grateful. And of course, Serena's spot at Princeton is secure. No question about it. Don't misunderstand me, my mother said coldly. The $20 million is currently in an escrow account. It will only be released to the school on one condition. The principal's eyes widened. Anything. Name it. You resign, my mother said bluntly. Immediately. Effective today. You have fostered an environment of elitism, corruption, and bullying. You stood by while my daughter bled. If you are not out of this building in 1 hour, I pull the $20 million, I pull the library funding, and my lawyers will personally sue you for gross negligence and complicity in the assault of a minor. Evans opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He looked at the school board members sitting in the front row. They were all vigorously nodding at him to resign. No one was going to throw away $20 million for him. Defeated, Evans slumped his shoulders. I will clear out my desk. Good, my mother said. She finally turned to me, the ice melting from her eyes, replaced by a warm, fierce pride. Come on, kiddo, she said, wrapping an arm gently around my shoulders. Let's get you to a hospital. We need to get that head checked out, and then we have a lot of ice cream to eat. I leaned into her, the adrenaline finally fading, leaving me exhausted but incredibly light. Can we get the expensive ice cream? I think we can afford it. My mother laughed, a genuine, ringing sound. Only the best for the valedictorian. As we walked down the aisle, the students, who had been dead silent for the last 20 minutes, suddenly erupted. It started with a few claps from my friends and quickly swelled into a massive, echoing standing ovation. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. 2 years later, the autumn breeze blowing across the Princeton campus was crisp and invigorating. I sat under a massive oak tree in the courtyard, closing my laptop after submitting my final essay for my business ethics class. My phone buzzed. It was a news alert from a financial app. Former Apex executive Leo Vance sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for embezzlement and fraud. I read the headline with mild detachment. It felt like reading about a stranger. According to the article, Leo had tried to pin the blame on Doris, claiming she had manipulated him into stealing the funds. Doris, in turn, had flipped on him, testifying against him in exchange for a lighter sentence. It didn't matter. Doris was currently serving 3 years for possession of stolen property and assault, while Caleb, after being expelled and blacklisted from every decent university, was working minimum wage at a gas station on the outskirts of the city, trying to pay off his massive legal debts. The sports car was gone. The villa was sold. The illusion was dead. Hey, Serena. I looked up to see my roommate, Chloe, jogging over with 2 cups of coffee. Did you see the Forbes list? Chloe asked, dropping onto the grass next to me and shoving a coffee into my hand. Your mom made the top 50 this year. Apex stock is through the roof since she took over full public operations. I saw. I smiled, taking a sip of the coffee. She's expanding the tech division. We've been talking about it all week. Chloe looked at me curiously. You know, with all that money, you don't even have to be here. You could just inherit the company and live on a yacht. I looked around the beautiful, historic campus. I thought about the late night studying, the sheer effort it took to maintain my grades, and the pride I felt when I walked across the graduation stage. Not because my name was Vance, but because I had earned it. I thought about Doris Thorne's sharp fingernails, Caleb's arrogant sneer, and Leo's pathetic begging. They believed that money was a substitute for character, that wealth was a shield against consequences. They learned the hard way that a paper castle burns the fastest. I told Chloe, packing my laptop into my bag. But Apex isn't just about money. It's about building something real. My mom built it from the ground up, and when I take over, I'm going to make it even bigger. But I'm doing it my way. I stood up, brushing the leaves off my jeans. Come on, I said, looking toward the library. We have a study group in 10 minutes. And unlike some people, I actually like to earn my spot.